Welcome into OutKick the show. I am in Washington, D.C. I am headed to L.A. this afternoon. I am all over the country. I hope you guys are having a fantastic Wednesday as we sit here 62 days in advance of the election. I walked by the White House this morning. I'll give you my picks here as we get ready for, frankly, next week, which is the next big day, I would say, on the election calendar when Trump and Kamala will debate in Philadelphia on September 10th. That is still to come. But in the meantime, I want to talk some about Thursday night football, in particular, the return of the NFL. I've got some winners for you in that big game. PrizePicks, America's #1 daily fantasy sports app. With PrizePicks, you against the number. You can win up to 100 times your money on PrizePicks. As little as 4 correct picks, you can turn $10 into $1,000. I've got a 10-to-1 payout for all of you here, and it features one free square. If Caleb Williams gets just 1 passing yard in his game against the Tennessee Titans, you get a win every week in September, including this one. 1 yard gets you an automatic win. We're starting with 1 win all throughout September. Don't miss the deal on PrizePicks. It ends when September ends. PrizePicks, best way to win real money this football season. Which players are going off, which ones aren't. Make your picks less than 60 seconds. Turn your sports opinions into real money all season long on PrizePicks. I've got a 10-to-1 payout for you right here. Thursday night football in conjunction with Caleb Williams on Sunday, which we're going to win. I've got 3 picks for you on Thursday night football. Lamar Jackson more than 1.5 passing, rushing, or receiving touchdowns. That is, if Lamar Jackson throws 4, rushes 4, or catches 1.5 or more, that is, we need 2 touchdowns, then you are going to cash on Thursday night. Derrick Henry, new Baltimore Ravens running back Derrick Henry, more than a half yard, and you will win. And then the third of our picks here in conjunction with the Caleb Williams 1-yarder, Patrick Mahomes, more than 265.5 passing yards in the big game against the Ravens. Chiefs-Ravens, Thursday night football. Lamar Jackson, more than 1.5 passing, rushing, or receiving touchdowns. Derrick Henry, more than 1/2 touchdowns. And Patrick Mahomes, more than 265.5, plus the free square with Caleb Williams. If this hits, that is a 10-to-1 payout. If you go to PrizePicks right now, you put down $5, you get $50 when you use the code OutKick. That's PrizePicks.com, code OutKick. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. PrizePicks, run your game. At PrizePicks.com, code OutKick. Okay. Several different things that are going on. I actually want to start, because it's Wednesday, with some NFL opinions here. And in particular, I thought Armando Salguero wrote a really good piece that I would encourage all of you to go read about Brazil and how the NFL, he believes, should handle the banning of Twitter in that country. First of all, I've said this for some time. To me, the 2024 election basically comes down to, do you support free speech or not? I do. I'm a free speech absolutist. I have been banned for 7 years by CNN for saying I believe in only 2 things completely: the First Amendment and boobs. It's one of the most viral clips out there related to CNN. But I do think, in addition to that being a fun and entertaining way to make the point about being a First Amendment absolutist, this is really important. Where we are sitting right now, there is a substantial component of the left wing in America that is in favor of banning speech, restricting speech, not allowing the full flow of ideas. And actually, as I'm speaking to you here Wednesday, I just spoke this morning at George Washington University, actually across the street from my dorm room when I was a freshman back in 1997. And it was interesting. I mean, that's now been, 27 years ago that I was a freshman in college, which is crazy for me to think that it's been that long since I was living in that dorm. But the first thing that I ever published in my entire life was a editorial in the George Washington University Hatchet. It's excerpted and put in my new book, but also you can Google it. It shows up still on the archives, and it was a defense of the First Amendment. So 18-year-old Clay Travis wrote a letter to the editor in the GW student newspaper. It was the first thing that was ever published under my name, and it was a defense of the First Amendment. And I would encourage you guys to go back and read it. It kind of was a left-wing idea at that point in time in 1997. Now free speech and supporting it has become a right-wing idea. And I was thinking about that in the context of Brazil doing its best to ban Twitter and X, in the context in which the United States certainly is having its own free speech debates. But there has been a massive groundswell of support for the idea that if you don't like someone's opinions, they shouldn't be able to share them. And the best way to restrict information is censorship. I actually disagree completely. And I got asked this question when I was speaking today. How do you handle things that are untrue? And I mean things that are factually untrue, not opinions, but facts. And I said the best cure for bad speech, and bad speech is in quotation marks, is more speech. I believe that if you have someone trying to determine what is misinformation, what is disinformation, they often end up being wrong. And I'll give you a couple of examples. CNN just rehired Brian Stelter. Rachel Maddow is probably the highest paid person at all of MSNBC. Joe Scarborough makes a ton of money. They were all wrong about the Hunter Biden laptop. And we've played some of these clips, and I've shared them on social media. In fact, we shared the Joe Scarborough one last week, but Brian Stelter on CNN lectured his audience about Russian disinformation having to do with the Hunter Biden laptop. And it turns out they're wrong. And that is factually inaccurate. And they told their audience that the Hunter Biden laptop was Russian disinformation, that it was made up. And now we all are aware that the Hunter Biden laptop was actually 100% real, and that the FBI knew that the laptop was 100% real when the New York Post story came out in October of 2020, and it was censored. Rather than censor, I think we should have robust, uninhibited debate in the United States. And someone said, well, what if things are wrong? And I said, the cure for false speech is more speech. It is people being called out for their inaccuracies and allowing the truth to eventually rise. And I'm going to believe that for the rest of my life. I'm going to fight for it for the rest of my life. And I think it's an interesting time for the NFL because Friday they're going to be playing a game in Brazil between the Packers and the Eagles. And to me, the Packers-Eagles game in Brazil, when players are not allowed to tweet, when media that's covering it is not allowed to tweet, I actually think it would be beneficial if the NFL came out and said, we support the right of free speech around the world. And it's easy for the NFL to decide that they're going to take a stand for social justice in the United States, where to a large extent, there are no consequences to putting end racism in the end zone or deciding that you want to be politically active. But many people in Brazil are being silenced, and players and coaches and executives and media that are covering this game, in theory, are subject to the same restrictions of free speech as all of the Brazilian citizens are. And I just think, regardless of what you believe, I will fight forever for your right to say it. And I wish the NFL would, in a clear, full-throated process, say, we support the right of Brazil's citizens to have uninhibited rights of free expression, such as the First Amendment enshrines in the United States. Now, people immediately say, oh, well, you didn't support Kaepernick. Yeah, I don't support individuals in uniform at work being able to make political statements. And I think you can leave aside the NFL. If you worked at McDonald's, I think you should get fired if I order a Big Mac and you say, hey, meat is murder. Or if you work at Walmart and I'm going through the checkout line and at Walmart you tell me what your opinion is on abortion and try to get me to endorse your opinion as I'm just there to buy products. Same thing if you're a FedEx delivery driver or UPS or United States Postal Service. I don't think you should be showing up with a Kamala or Trump T-shirt on. I think that would be bad for the company. I think they should try to serve everybody. But outside of work, I don't think there's anything wrong with anybody advocating for any perspective they have outside of uniform at work. And I certainly don't think there's anything wrong with companies expressing support for basic human rights around the world. And potentially, as Armando Salguero wrote, the NFL wants to be so outspoken. And many American sports leagues want to be so outspoken. I mean, heck, Major League Baseball pulled the All-Star game out of Atlanta. The NBA pulled the All-Star game out of Charlotte over individual state laws. And they're going to play a game in Brazil where the country is now restricting the overall right of free speech of its citizens. I think that's wrong. And actually, if I were the commissioner of the NFL, I really believe this, pull the game out of Brazil and put it back in either Green Bay or in Philadelphia and allow that game to be played in the United States and say the NFL believes strongly in free speech. Now, a lot of people are going to then immediately say, well, you didn't believe it. Kaepernick had Kaepernick took a knee and it was bad for the NFL's overall brand. I don't think the NFL players individually should be taking stands. I had some fun with this, but it always blows up in people's faces. People who said, oh, Colin Kaepernick should be able to take a knee during the national anthem, and he was allowed to do so. And I said, okay, what if Colin Kaepernick was taking a knee because he doesn't think gay marriage should be legal? Do you think that would be good for the NFL? Do you think it would be good for the NFL for every player to take the national anthem based on their individual political beliefs? People immediately get quiet. Most of the time, when people talk about free speech, they talk about free speech that they agree with. To me, the foundational principle of free speech itself is the right for all citizens to speak, which is what Brazil is taking away. So I think it would be a strong moment for the NFL. I don't think they're willing to do it. And I think that's because, by and large, the NFL is not actually committed to principle. They're committed to money. And that's fine. If you're committed to money, more power to you, but don't lecture me about anything other than your sport itself anywhere in the future. So I'd encourage you guys to go read Armando Salguero's his article that is up on OutKick. I have tweeted about it. I think that you guys will appreciate that article. It's smartly done, intelligent, from the perspective of Armando Salguero, who, by the way, knows a bit about the restrictions of freedom because his family is Cuban, and he has dealt with that and the rise of left-wing communism and what it can do to freedom, which seems to be, frankly, occurring in Brazil, certainly has happened in Venezuela, many other countries out there in Latin America, which is why so many people, to a large extent, are trying to come to America because of the freedoms that we have here. Now, Russia. There is a suggestion that I saw CNN put out that the Biden administration is focused on Russia and their attempt to influence the 2024 election. The media is going to obsessively cover Russia's attempts to influence the 2024 election now, and most of those same media are not going to pay attention to actually what happened in the United States when our own government made the decision to influence the 2020 election, when they decided to claim that the Hunter Biden laptop, which was real, was not actually real, even though the FBI had it in their possession and had authenticated it. People say, okay, what are you talking about here, Clay? I expect that foreign interests are going to try to influence our elections just as we try to influence their elections, right? It's always interesting to me when the United States media says, oh, Russia or China or whoever it is trying to influence our elections. and they don't acknowledge that we simultaneously try to influence many foreign nation elections ourselves by having as much of an impact as we can. In other words, we do what we claim others try to do. I'm less concerned by foreign actors trying to influence our elections, although I believe what we just had recently, Iran hacked the Trump campaign, and there have been many reports about the impact of TikTok in China on the election. I'm more concerned about internal actions than I am external actions. I presume that foreign nations, which do not like America, want to influence our elections. I have always presumed it. I always believe it will happen. What still the media seems unwilling to cover is actual United States government officials trying to rig our elections by not allowing the Hunter Biden laptop story to come out in 2020. That dwarfs by orders of magnitude anything that any foreign adversary is going to be able to do to influence our election. Yet when Mark Zuckerberg came out last week and admitted that he had been briefed by the FBI and they had been unwilling to tell him that the Hunter Biden laptop was real, in fact, they had told him that it might well be Russian disinformation, the media, by and large, didn't cover it at all. Now they will breathlessly cover, yet again, Russia collusion, even though we've already gone through all of this in 2016 and it was made up. All of the people who claim that they care about the sanctity of elections, by and large, in 2016, said Russia had rigged the election for Trump. They were wrong, and they've never apologized for it at all. But to me, what is really evidence of is that the Biden administration and the Kamala Harris administration, they've got nothing new. They've got nothing new at all on Trump. And that is why, as I am speaking to you, we're taping this a little bit early because I got to fly to L.A., but as I am speaking to all of you, we are seeing a massive movement in the direction of Donald Trump when it comes to the gambling odds. As we get closer and closer to the election, right now in the presidential gambling odds, Trump has opened up a 5-point lead, which is among the biggest leads, 52-47. And ultimately, I think this race is going to come down to Pennsylvania, which I think Trump is going to win. I think Trump is going to win Georgia. I think Trump is going to win North Carolina, and that is going to make him the next president of the United States. But we obviously have a lot of different moving parts between now and then. But to me, this election, and I'm checking the live odds right now as I'm speaking to all of you, is going to come down to Pennsylvania. And right now, Trump is up in Pennsylvania. It's going to be close. But I think whoever wins Pennsylvania is going to be the next president of the United States. And I think Pennsylvania is going for Trump. Trump has opened up a 5-point lead in Pennsylvania, 53 to 48. CNN polls coming out. I saw one today that had Trump versus Kamala dead even. So all that is going on. A couple of other different stories out there in the world of college football. Two biggest games, top 25. I talked about it yesterday with Kelly Stewart. All of my gambling picks are up right now. Encourage all of you to go check that out. But I believe Tennessee is going to pull away from NC State, end up winning by double digits. And let me go ahead and hit you with the absolute latest numbers there. I gave out Tennessee as a 7.5-point lead. Right now, Tennessee is hanging around. Let me see what the absolute latest line is there. Tennessee still a 7.5-point favorite in that game. And then the other top 25 game, that is two top 25 teams playing. There are only two of them. Texas remains around a 7.5-point favorite over Michigan. I like Texas and I like Tennessee. It is my double UT combo. If you want to play that as a parlay, I like both of those teams to win that game and pull away. And all of that is going on. I appreciate all of you. My thanks to those of you who have reacted. In addition to the super busy schedule, I mentioned that I spoke this morning at George Washington University across the street from my freshman year dorm that I lived in 27 years ago, which is wild for me to think about. And I was thinking about that. I also was on Timcast, which is Tim Pool's big YouTube show. I did 3 hours with him last night. I have shared the link of that. A lot of discussion about OutKick and also about the Clay and Buck show on that. If you want to check it out on YouTube, that was a super busy day. I am hopping a flight, like I said, to head to L.A., but I cannot wait for college football and the NFL to be back. I gave you all my NFL picks. Those are up on the site as well. Let me make sure that I hit all of those picks with you. Every week I'll be doing my OutKick six-pack, as I have been doing for some time now. And the OutKick six-pack is I like the Titans plus 4.5 against the Bears. I think Will Levis will be decent with a brand new coach, and I think there's a little bit too much value there right now. I like the Steelers, Falcons, the over 42.5. You got Russell Wilson going up against Kirk Cousins, both in new locations. I like the Dolphins to cover the 3 against the Jags, and I like the Texans to cover 2.5 at the Colts. I like C.J. Stroud over Anthony Richardson in that AFC South matchup. And I like the Chargers -3 in Jim Harbaugh's debut against the Raiders, and the Cowboys plus the points at the Browns. That is my OutKick six-pack. My blood bank guarantee this week is Tennessee, the Volunteers, to cover the 7.5 and win by double digits on the backs of their defensive line, which I think is going to dominate in that game. All of that headed your way. No more OutKick shows the rest of the week. Next week, we will have a bunch because I will be breaking down the debate, getting you ready for another week of college football action, all that coming your way. But that will be next week. I am out of town for the rest of this week. I'll be back with you on OutKick the show on Monday. Get your PrizePicks picks in. Use code OutKick. You put down $5, you get automatic $50 credit. I told you, but Caleb Williams to throw for at least 1 yard. Lamar Jackson, more than 1.5 touchdowns tomorrow in the Thursday night kickoff. Derrick Henry, who I'm going to enjoy watching alongside of Lamar Jackson. I love Derrick Henry and everything he did with the Titans over the years. More than 1.5 touchdown. And Patrick Mahomes, more 265.5 passing yards. That is our 10-1 payout. PrizePicks.com, code OutKick. I will see you guys on Monday. I'll be doing Clay and Buck live from D.C. here today, Wednesday, and then I'll be live with Clay and Buck on Thursday and Friday from L.A. Appreciate all of you. This has been OutKick the show. DBAP, unless you need to SBAP. I will see all of you on Monday on this program.